Last year, the Thunderbirds and Swifts met in the grand final, but after today, there'll only be room for one of them in 2002. Welcome to Etsa Park in Adelaide. I'm Steve Rebillard for ABC Sport. The winner of this preliminary final knows that next week in the title decider, they're going to run into a Melbourne Phoenix outfit very much in form. Maybe that's more than we can say for the Thunderbirds, who are coming off their worst loss of the season. They did finish higher up the table than the Swifts. They are at home, but the results of the semis suggest they just might struggle. Let's remind you of those results. The Swifts had enough in hand by half-time to hold off the fast-finishing Kestrels and win the minor semi in Sydney by 8 goals. The major semi had its share of controversy, a very high penalty count against the Thunderbirds and a late injury to Beck Sanders. Phoenix certainly deserved the win, but maybe 15 goals flattered them. Well, I've got my old partner in crime with me and Annie Sargent. And Annie, the Swifts are the defending champions. The Thunderbirds, they just never miss a grand final. A lot of pride on the line here.
Absolutely, Steve. They're both champion clubs and they've built that success based on tremendous pride and fighting spirit. The Swifts, as you said, defending champions, and they're not yet in awesome form, but they're approaching it. Great improvement across the last couple of weeks, so they're in good form going into this match. The Thunderbirds, as you mentioned, a miserable match last week on the end of a very heavy penalty count. No great success in shooting. Of course, the injury to Beck Sanders, well, one shining light for them. Beck, arguably the world's best centre, will start the match for them tonight, so great news for them. If they can get Jackie Delaney back into great form, they're in there with a fighting chance, but it should be a sensational battle.
Well, the two respective coaches for this match are the longest serving in the league. Let's hear some thoughts from them.
I think we're as ready as we can be, considering we've had a few ups and downs over the last couple of weeks. A big penalty count last week, not terribly good on our selection of shot, and then the injury to Beck in the last 3 minutes of the game has made this week very difficult. But we've addressed all the issues, and I think we're all ready to go.
We've had a really good preparation this week. We've trained really well. Everything we've tried seems to have come off well. And we've had a couple of good games running into this, where I think we've played almost to the best of our ability. So a little step up tonight, I think we're more than capable of taking it.
Well, that is the substantially strapped right ankle of Rebecca Sanders. And she and all the fans here will be hoping it can go the distance. The umpires are ready. We're underway in the preliminary final. And let's see who starts the better. Certainly it is the Swifts who bring in slightly the better form from their semi-final.
Changes for the Thunderbirds, and they make sense quite obviously. Demelza Fellows back at goalkeeper to match the height of Catherine Cox. Umpires for this match, Sharon Kelly on screen. She's working with Michelle Fippard for this prelim final. Much at stake for both.
Oh, that drift by Delaney, picked up by Ellis. She'll rarely get an easier turnover than that one, or Harvey Williams than that. So a free exchange of possession in the early moments. And Delaney.
Along with the Fellows going back to keeper, sees the move of Squire back to wing defence. So a very solid mid-court for the Thunderbirds.
Sanders, neat feed in for Worthley. Oh, they'll take that. A kind result off the rim, Harry Worthley, and just shot 61% last week, the Thunderbirds, in that loss to Phoenix. So that's an area of the court, Annie, as you mentioned, they've just got to lift at the pointy end. You just can't win matches at this level shooting 60%.
And it's such a psychological thing too, and it's been addressed so openly in the press and in Adelaide. You could even hear the public then, the crowd then waiting on that missed shot to see what would happen. They put up 35% only in their opening quarter last week, the Thunderbirds, so the start is all important to them.
And Delaney. Nothing wrong with this start. They've got the first couple. So the Swifts need to settle. Akel. Anderson. A little hand out there from Squire. He's never to be denied. Always in the contest. Cox. Quite happily shoot from there.
Pass or shot.
But, Fellows a little too close. So the issue of penalties is certainly one that the Thunderbirds addressed midweek. They know that they've got to obey the whistle, adjust to the umpires. Some of the calls they thought were a bit tough last week, but some of it they know was down to them.
Mark Ango, the Thunderbirds coach, has gone the direct channels. She asked permission to speak directly to the umpires, and I understand that happened. I think the gist of it is that they thought some of the contests were poor decision-making contests that needed to be pulled out of. So maybe a little more restrained.
Delaney got a touch, but it fell to Altschwager, so chance for an equaliser here for the Swifts. Cox. And who's got the rebound? Altschwager. Offloads to Cox, and this will be for 2-all. And Jill McIntosh, beside Australian manager Donald Roberts, so you expect the Australian coach to be an important match like this. Anderson. And I'm sure next year's World Championships will roll around much more quickly than a lot of players would think they might. And Jamaica to host them.
Yes, and Australia a little lean on international match play going into those. We hope that's addressed.
Sanders. Delaney. Sanders seems to be moving okay, if only slightly favouring that right ankle. Watched her in warm-up, Annie. She did seem to be preferring to land on the left. You'd understand that.
Yeah, I'm going to give myself away. My immediate thought was whether was that by choice or is she a natural left foot lander? And that probably will be the case. So it's difficult to tell whether she's suffering any pain. She's certainly opened up beautifully. Margang gave a picture of concentration. I heard her chatting earlier saying that it wasn't really any tougher than any other big match they've had to play. They all bring their special difficulties.
Well, she also said, you know, she's been asked a couple of times this week, is this one of your tougher fortnights in your long history of coaching? And she said that when they were without Jackie Delaney, that was also pretty tough. It was a reworking the lineup. And Julie Fitzgerald, nervous coming in, I think, too.
Both teams have had to reshuffle lineups to accommodate either missing players or players poor on form. For the Swifts, it's been the mid-court. Reagan Jackson, a huge loss to them, but Megan Anderson stepping up to fill that role. Both teams starting in a very measured fashion in this game. You can see there is an obvious discipline of control out there, rather than a real frantic pace early on.
I wonder about that call. What happened was that although Fellows was in the air, when she touched the ball back into play, she'd already stepped out before that. So that's all worked out okay for the home side. Ellis did well. Umberto to Delaney.
Well, the arms working early on for Jackie Delaney. 3 from 5, but she looks comfortable.
It's 7 attempts to 4, though, for Thunderbirds. That problem of unconverted possession, we'll keep an eye on that, see if it becomes an issue.
Contact where you are.
Contact against Megan Anderson.
Megan Anderson has a great deal of respect for Rebecca Sanders. She rates her as probably the world's best centre, so this is a great test for her to see how far she's come in developing her game in the mid-court to rank herself against Sanders in a pressure game.
Anderson. Cox. Oh, great drive from Altschwager. Puts the brakes on quicker than Harvey Williams can.
The Swifts are just lacking a bit of connection to the shooters early in this match. They're not linking from the centre straight through. I think Bryony at wing attack just finding a little difficulty finding space, and I guess that's against the calibre of Squire. As we watch it again, Altschwager holding up well on the baseline.
It's the disc pads of Harvey Williams.
Harvey Williams has opened nicely, very slight of foot and hand. She snuck around to get some good clean ball from front position.
And that was for the lead.
Cox goes up, has good position. And Fellows falls off the challenge. It's the deck.
There's that early penalty game. Pretty even, nothing in it actually. 8-7. And that's how I hope, how Margango will be hoping if the Thunderbirds can keep it.
And possession's fairly even. Shooting favouring the Swifts slightly, but both teams are down from where they should be.
Contact against Wordley, contesting that rebound. Gilsonen on to Anderson. Cox. Fellows already racking up a few penalties there. That's number 5. And a slap. Well, Williams, yeah. No, Harvey Williams. I think Sharon Kelly was just waiting to see if the attempt went through.
Yes, I'm not sure about the reaction then from Catherine. It looked to be a fair call, and I guess that's part of the discipline Margango's looking for. The decisions may go against them. Don't acknowledge them, though. Get on with the game. And very early days to be thinking about it now. 5 apiece, both teams in the game.
No Sherelle McMahon to worry about, but it's two high-class goalers nonetheless in Altschwager and Cox.
Well, it is such a different focus. It's the aerial approach to Cox and Altschwager. There isn't the speed you get and the exacting movement you get from Southby and McMahon. So the Thunderbird defence reshuffled, as we said earlier, and perhaps better matched for this.
So just a goal in it. This time it's the Thunderbirds in front. The Swifts have enjoyed a period of a one-goal lead. Now Swift, the Thunderbirds, and potentially two.
The Swifts doing a positional switch in the circle. Ellis picking up duties on Delaney, and that was just a lovely shot. Delaney putting on almost a triple dodge, but couldn't shake Ellis.
Cox leads out of the circle away from Fellows.
That's been a move Cox has put on about 10 times in the match so far. That simple lead out of the circle. It leaves the space behind her for Altschwager.
So they get set in the circle as Akel prepares to take it. Cox, Altschwager in motion. Contact against Harvey Williams, and her third.
I thought she was a little unlucky then. She had front position, and she's the shorter of the two, so she will be in underneath on the way to the ball. Let's have another look if we can. Yeah, not too much in it. They're both contesting the ball.
Sanders, Delaney, and a number of dodges put on by Worthley. She rolls, and Ellis just sticks with her like glue.
Von Berto having a fine game at wing attack for the Thunderbirds.
Yeah, the confidence and the shot from Delaney, 10 from 12. Contrast that with 4 from 10 last week. Coming up to the last minute of the first quarter.
Well, it's early days. Maybe the clippings Mark Angove prepared for Jack Delaney, reminding her that other great champions in other sports have had slumps and recovered. Maybe they did the trick. Then you worry, is it a week too early?
People like Mark Taylor in cricket and Corey McKernan in Australian rules. Plenty of champions have come back.
We'll put that one down to Ellis, who took a big piece of the ball then and stuffed the shot. Technical term, not poor English.
Cox. Yeah, you know, I really thought they would have got Allison a uniform with a name on it by now. Goal defence for Sydney Swift, still running around anonymously. Just a few seconds left. The Thunderbirds. Up goes the Hail Mary pass, Ellis, and they'll see this away. Only the Swifts with a rough chance of scoring. Cox, turn, shoot, have a go. Oh, the try. Would have been worth 3 points, but nearly a smile there from Julie Fitzgerald too. But it's her team in just a little bit of bother at quarter time, because these Thunderbirds look rejuvenated as they take a 14-12 quarter time lead. And this was Ellis slowing the play down, and Worthley not quite keeping the balance as we would have liked. But this quarter's panned out all right.
First quarter has not been good for the Thunderbirds for the last 2 weeks, but they've turned things around in this preliminary final. Penalties much more under control. In fact, only one more against them than the Swifts. They've been most heavy against Fellows, but that's just part of the contest, so very tidy there. Goals too, although not as accurate as they would like, it's reasonable. 74% is their combined total. It's Jackie Delaney, though, that's turned things around for Adelaide. 10 from 13, she's on fire.
Well, a small lead, but a lot of self-belief, I think, coming for the Thunderbirds. Just have wondered if they'd forgotten how to play at times in the last couple of weeks, but not today. And it certainly doesn't hurt being at home.
Ellis accidentally using the post and gave possession back to the Thunderbirds with that free pass. I think she was a little hardly done by. I think she actually had single-handed possession in the first place from the rebound.
Worthley this time. And a 3-goal lead, their best of the match. Akel needs some help. Anderson supplies. Altschwager.
And once again, it's that transition phase from the centre to the circle that's just lacking for the Swifts. They're just missing that link.
Akel. Contact against Altschwager, who smiles, but signifies disbelief.
That happened because Jane tried to get down and mix it with Catherine, and of course she's taller, so she needs to use her height and stay upright.
Delaney, great backup there, just came from nowhere so quickly, just reading the play superbly on the spilled ball. It is the Swifts. Gilsonen, Akel, and both goalers out of the circle. Cox, Altschwager goes back. Good moves from Altschwager for a tall player.
She just needs to use her height. As I said a second ago, she's sort of crouching down and working down, mixing with Catherine Harvey-Williams, and needs to get up and use that height.
Oh, Worthley just completely lost Ellis. There had been a swap. Annie, you can read that better than me, but Worthley's putting on some nice moves in the circle, creating some space for herself.
I think the timing was good from her then. She drove onto the ball nicely.
Oh, how dare the ball not drop after doing that? Ellis, Gilsonen, and they throw one away. So a bit of pressure showing in the play of the Swifts. 10 turnovers against the Swifts to 5. And a few missed goal turnovers, though, against the Thunderbirds.
Goal defense, contact, pass or shot.
Rebounds favouring Swifts 5-3.
Accuracy just deserting the Thunderbirds at the start of the second quarter. Radar back on now with that shot, but it took 3 to make 1. Broadbent will be stood out of play for the contact from that last challenge.
Akel, Cox.
Well, Cox missed time to jump. Could have made it easier for herself. Now they've coughed it up, and the reply from the Swifts. Both teams able to spoil their chances.
It's scrappy at times. Cox doesn't mind shooting from there, as we know, and Altschwager had the height. Harvey-Williams gets the contact call. Fellows a good lean. Almost intimidation with that second thrust of the arm, Annie. How do you read that?
I agree, making a couple of movements at the ball that can be read as swiping. She's very tight on the distance too. When she's gone, it's not been for contact as much as obstruction.
Thunderbirds looking good at 20-14. They stretched a 2-goal lead to 6 in just 6 minutes of play in the second quarter. Penalty count is interesting reading. Thunderbirds much more disciplined this week. 17 to the Swifts 24.
Well, it's been the big point of discussion all week. 100 penalties against the Thunderbirds in last week's semi-final. And even more than that, just the discipline and their refusal to acknowledge it in this game. They're just getting on with business as usual. They're really keeping things under control. It's a little scary how business-like it is. There's not the passion you normally see from them. It's just very determined and deliberate. Let's play the ball.
Squire from behind just took it from Akel. Perfectly legally. Strong hands, quick hands. Umberto. And Worthley.
And again, Worthley comes up with it because the Swiss defenders had done a positional switch. Ellis to pick up Delaney. It left Broadbent on Worthley. And again, she just popped out and caught them unawares.
Worthley. Umberto. Oh, wow. To Delaney. How did you read it, Anne?
I actually would have seen that as a toss. The ball seemed to sit there for a long time with nobody able to get back onto it. That's the first. They both come back.
Oh, simultaneous there.
Simultaneous to me.
The toss, we haven't seen it much this year. I think I've only seen 1 or 2 the whole season.
Well, to be fair, the umpires are encouraged not to call. They are encouraged to make a decision. Don't be lazy and call it as a toss, but I think I'd be lazy then. Thunderbirds just stamping themselves in the second quarter.
22-15. They've held the Swifts to 3 goals in 8 minutes. And they've scored 9 themselves.
Carrie Worthley on screen, but at the other end of the court, Catherine Cox is screaming. She hasn't seen the ball for several minutes now, and it's just keeping them out of the game. It's danger time for the Swifts. They really need to get themselves back in.
It's an 8-1 run at the moment for the Thunderbirds. Olschwager, Anderson, Cox this time. Can't shoot them out there. Anderson.
It's too static in the Swifts forward line. There's not the options. There's not a couple on the move. It's one-off play.
A trail by 7. With over 6 minutes left. Cox 6 from 10, so her stats have fallen a little. She was 6 from 9, so she's in the first quarter, so she's only had one attempt. It's amazing. And 10 from 10 though from Olschwager. She was 6 from 6 in the first, so Cox has had
well, that's her second attempt of the quarter and her first goal of the quarter, and there's less than 6 minutes remaining until half-time. No wonder she was standing at the end of the court slapping the hands and calling out. She knows they need to turn it around.
Anderson, Ellis. Forward bent. Good. Hold up in the middle here from the Thunderbirds. The Swifts are really struggling to progress.
No drive in this Swifts line. Out of court. From out of court.
Harvey Williams. And they're down here in a trice. Delaney.
Advantage upside wing.
Umberto. Ellis. That goes against Liz Ellis.
Liz has just started to pick up the workload in the last 5 minutes, trying to come out and disrupt. You see there the left arm fending off Sanders from the ball, causing the penalty. But you see she's trying to come through to disrupt the Thunderbirds' attacking format. They're on the edge of the circle, feeding comfortably. She's trying to get out amongst it.
And Harvey Williams holding up Olschwager. They had to go for Cox. Obstruction against Fellows. It falls through. That looks a little better. Down by 6 though. And Thunderbirds well in control of this quarter and well in control of themselves. Sanders. Oh, Delaney, how sweet was that?
Well, how confident was it? Didn't even think about the offload, just fired the arm. Delaney at 76% with 16 of the Thunderbirds' goals. Worthley at 75. The Swifts are 82%. It's not the accuracy, it's the lack of possession. Catherine Cox has only put up 3 goals in this second quarter. Olschwager 4.
They've had 10 fewer attempts. Sanders. Umberto.
You can just see the intensity lifting from both teams now. Just under 4 minutes until half-time, and the Thunderbirds have decided, let's try and break this away, and the Swifts have decided, let's bring it down. So they're both starting to put the pressure on.
Gilsonen was further penalised there on the edge of the circle. The penalty advanced. Oh, Akel drives up it just before the ball arrived.
Yeah, her feet were loose on that take. I don't know that she's getting the drive they would like, nor the combination with Anderson, but my understanding is Kelly Adamson isn't well for the Swifts, so that may not be an option. You see the look on Julie Fitzgerald's face. She sees that the form they've gathered in the last 2 weeks has deserted them so far in this match.
They last met here just before the break for the Commonwealth Games when several of the Swifts players were unwell. They had a bug running through the team, and Liz Ellis, Jane Olschwager, Catherine Cox, all affected by it. And they ran well for the first half, even into the third quarter, before eventually losing 61-47. Worthley. Delaney.
Again, last-minute timing on the offers of the moves from the Thunderbirds and commitment to the ball. You'd swear the Swifts have no heart for this one.
Olschwager, Gilsonen, and a 9-goal lead. It's a fantastic second quarter from the Thunderbirds, holding the Swifts to just 7 goals.
Once again, the Swifts robbed of possession. Thunderbirds with another opportunity have scored the last 3, and you've got to give the Thunderbirds credit from such a shocker last week to turn it around and really be taking it to the Swifts. There'll be some serious talking in the Swifts camp at half-time.
They've got a lot to address. And Madison. Schwager had to be strong under the pressure from Harvey Williams. The whistle does go against the Thunderbirds captain.
Schwager tried to hold ground and reach with one hand. I don't think they're in a position to make that sort of take. You've got to get onto the ball with two and pull it. This is about passion and pride now. They need more.
Sanders, Worthley. Wilson at Akel. Oh, and a step. So a couple of turnovers against Akel in the last couple of minutes.
That's the footwork we mentioned earlier that's just been a little loose on the take. It also comes from wanting to play the ball on when there's nothing on offer.
Nice 1-2 between Worthley and Bomberto. And she's got the confidence to finish it. She's 10 from 13. Delaney 19 from 24. 78% for the Thunderbirds. Contrast that with 61% for the match last week. And they have really improved.
Catherine Harvey-Williams trying to block Olschwager's entry, but she goes for causing contact.
Trouble with that one for Catherine Cox from that kind of range. Olschwager still hasn't missed for the match. Just needs more of it. Worthley. Last half minute. First half. Thunderbirds will be more than pleased. Ellis made that all her own.
Akel just went for participating from an out-of-play position, raised a hand to signal the defenders.
Drives that onto Cox.
That's a bit more like it.
Oh.
There was a lot of intensity then. Beautiful work down court, but undone under the post. Well, that was a glimpse of what the Swifts can do.
Well, no whistle there. And just watched the fellow. She stepped out of play at the back there. So anyway, doesn't much matter in the end. What does matter is a scoreline that favours the Thunderbirds, 29-21. They have really stepped up, and Jackie Delaney has been a big part of that. This 8-goal lead. Delaney is creating the space for some little use of the body, perhaps, but a sweet shot. And Delaney has got the Thunderbirds in prime position here in this preliminary final.
Taking a look at the half-time statistics, you can see that shooting accuracy 84% favours the Sydney Swifts, but they're being punished by a lack of possession. 12 more opportunities at goal for the Adelaide Thunderbirds. The other costly statistic is in the area of turnovers. The Sydney Swifts have coughed up 8 more possessions, and they can ill afford to do that when they trail by 8. It's the Thunderbirds in great shape.
Swifts, have they got improvement in them to the tune of 8 goals? That's what they need. And they've made a couple of changes to try and affect that, but with Delaney chipping in straight off, that's not the start that they were looking for. The Swifts have swapped Cox and Olschwager at the front and Broadbent and Ellis at the back. Now that is a really unusual change. I don't know when I've last seen Liz Ellis at goal defence. I know we have, but gee, you've got to think about it.
Don't come looking to me. I'm not sure either. And she did have a little smile on her face when she took the court, exchanged a little joke with Jackie Delaney, probably along those lines.
And Aurelio Vidmar and his wife Sarah Engo. She was Sarah Vidmar now. Aurelio, of course, the Socceroo. Adelaide scoreboard. A lot of great football through Europe. Now he's, we call him a netball widower. No, he's come, good on him.
It's a big group. It's a huge club.
Yeah, you marry into the Ango family, you know you're going to watch some netball. It's a 10-goal lead for the Thunderbirds. And they look confident. I just can't believe the change over them from last week. Just some sides match up better on certain teams than others.
Well, you want to see, in a match like this, 2 teams playing at their best. It's great the Thunderbirds have recovered from last week. I suspect, though, we're seeing the Swifts well below par.
Delaney. It's interesting to see the boot on the other foot as far as the penalties go this week. And the Swifts have incurred 5 more than the Thunderbirds.
Well, you'd have to say the umpires are just business as usual. They don't change their interpretations. You would have to credit the Thunderbirds with a lot of soul-searching and a lot of disciplined work during the week. They've turned, that's stepping again on Akel. They've turned things around from and taken responsibility for what happened last week and made adjustments, and that's a heavy, heavy clash.
Between Laura Von Berto and Liz Ellis.
Not
like
well matched, but...
That's okay. It's a sprung floor, folks. We can feel it shaking from here. At least it gives a little bit, Annie. You'd rather fall on this floor than asphalt outside.
That's a deliberate obstruction called on Megan Anderson, whose face crinkles up at the call. It was advanced into the circle. Now it turns over.
Woodlands and Nargan go, they'd be well pleased.
Well, Jackie Delaney was shooting 15% below her career average last week. She's now above her career average at 80%.
Defenders last week, Bianca Chatfield had a fantastic game for Phoenix, and so did Liz Boniello. We've got Broadbent and Ellis here, Australian defenders.
They're very quiet in this match. They really haven't dominated. Delaney has just worked and worked the space, and Worthley has been more the timing of her offer. Oh, beautiful take. That drew Harvey-Williams into the contact.
So 8.5 minutes gone in this third quarter, and the Swifts have only added 5 goals, I beg your pardon, since half-time. Just not going to win a match that way. Slipping right away from them. Harvey-Williams. Sanders. Delaney up to Worthley. There's good teamwork happening here, and you can see it on their faces as much as in their play. Cox. Well, those Adelaide supporters who watched the team play last week wouldn't have had too much hope that they could play this well. Swift supporters wouldn't have thought that the Swifts would be this flat either.
Sanders using her wonderful speed. You see the outside arm used there on the challenge.
Bent accepts the turnover. Akel. Anderson on to Altschwager. That's a great take that only someone of her reach could manage.
Altschwager's on 93%. She still only had just the one miss. She's put up 14 of the Swifts goals.
And she offloaded there to Anderson, who didn't have eyes for the ball. Now that you can share that error between them, I think.
I don't really think you can put too much on the Swift shooters. There's not particular a fault in the circle. The ball just isn't coming down the court with any connection for the Swifts. The timing is out, the drive is gone, and they're not able to stop the fluency of the Thunderbirds' forward line.
And the Swifts' forward line is breaking down like that. So it's a big question how much credit you give the defence and how much blame you apportion those players in the forward line.
I do think the Swifts midcourt has been exposed in this game by Sanders and Squire.
11 the lead, 4:40 left in the third. Delaney.
Where you are.
Delaney once more. Hesitated even over that shot. Didn't quite feel like that one was going to go through. Still on 77%. Broadbent. Akel.
Broadbent doing well then to remember she was now back at keeper and couldn't go over that line. There would have been a natural instinct to drive that ball down.
Well, we've seen in recent weeks a couple of established defenders pushed out of position by circumstances. Peter Squire last week playing back at goalkeeper and hadn't played there for many a year. Made a fair fist of it too. Altschwager.
Altschwager putting in a good performance, but that's the problem. The Swifts are doing things more as individuals in this match than as a team unit, and it saddens me, not because they're a Sydney side, but to see any team at this end of the competition not putting out their best.
Held ball, 10 goals the lead. It was 13 moments ago. Swifts scored the last 2. And the biggest lead of the match is 13 so far.
The timing now affecting the Swifts in their defensive challenges. Every single challenge down the court then came late, took a bit of body on the way because they've just lost the rhythm completely.
Berto taking the ball well was Worthley. Good
Great
jump from Ellis. And Worthley 15 from 19.
Worthley's not doing anything that you'd say was sensational. She's doing the simple things well, and she's playing off Jackie Delaney brilliantly.
This is what Thunderbirds have been looking for. A combination to build either between Delaney and Jackie Roberts or Delaney and Carrie Wordley. And it's come in bits and pieces from both players over the season. Well enough for them to hold down second spot. But in one or two crucial matches it hasn't worked.
That feed to the circle really is showing the Swifts' frustration. It was Hoyt up in hope more than skill. And it's Fellows that comes down with the rebound. Again, a clumsy challenge, going on with it a bit too long because they're playing from a defeated position.
Sanders just drops it, really. And Delaney just given a warning on the run, so she just needs to watch that.
Well, it was unnecessary, as Michelle Fippard pointed out. The Thunderbirds with a 12-goal lead don't need to do anything foolish.
She threw it out the back of the court after the penalty had been given, basically. It's not on. And Thunderbirds just having a momentary lapse into the habits of last week. Slight lack of discipline, but this time they come away with it. And just under 90 seconds left in the third quarter. The lead was 8 at halftime, so they're winning this quarter as well, up by 12 now. So you increase that lead across the match. You know you're playing well, and remarkably differently to last week, as we keep saying. Sanders. Gilson got a touch, will run it down. Squire venturing into this third, not entitled to.
They took a couple of rules with them. They acknowledged the first one, which was the contact.
Fox. Now, some thought for Margango at three-quarter time, knowing that the match is just about safe. Oh, Wordley gets it at the second grab. And Sargent shoots me. Looks like she should have got it the first time. Okay.
Well, I just want it known that I can be tough on the shooters as well as the defenders. Oh, yes, they're in a comfortable position. One point I was going to make was, do you rest Rebecca Sanders for this last quarter, knowing she's playing on a still mending ankle and a lead of 13? Well, you probably had thoughts of it, but you'd put it to Rebecca herself, and now you see Jackie Delaney and bother.
Jeez, she get a piece of that ball on the way past. It was trying to free herself from Harrison Broadbent's defence, but it's a very good third quarter. It's 3 good quarters from the Thunderbirds, and they lead it 41-28.
Sydney Swifts not having a happy time of it when they really need to be performing. It's do or die. At the moment, they're dying. Turnovers are heavy against them. 30 turnovers, most costly through the mid-court. Cox now joining the count, has 8 against her, but prior to that it was Aiklin Anderson that were coughing up most possession. Penalty count also heavy against the Swifts than the Thunderbirds. Ellis the most costly there, and as has been the story through the midsection of this game, the lack of possession is really hurting them in the goal area.
Well, in this final quarter, the Swifts, to have any chance, need to squeeze a lot of possession out of a very disciplined Thunderbirds lineup. It's hard to see how they can do it, but that's what they've got to try to do in the next 15 minutes. Akel. Just 7 goals scored by the Swifts in that third quarter, Annie. And twice in this match, the Thunderbirds have kept them under 10. 9 in the second quarter, 7 in the third. It's not enough.
It's been a real inability to thread the ball down court for the Sydney Swifts. I know there's great pride and heart in the team, but you'd swear it was non-existent with this performance. It doesn't come from not wanting it, it's just not being produced.
A little raise of the eyebrows there from Jackie Delaney. Transformation in Thunderbirds game sort of epitomised in her performance.
I don't actually know that the changes made by the Swifts at half-time have really paid dividends. I still think Ellis is more solid back at keeper for them. Perhaps if they changed the defensive pattern rather than made positional changes, it might have had greater effect.
Let's see, Julie Fitzgerald has got to try something, knowing that the loser, says goodbye to the season.
Well, I think the problem, as we noted earlier, has been in the mid-court, but the options aren't there for her. If Adamson, as we said, is ill, that probably is an option she doesn't have.
So Delaney throwing.
Vantage offside wing.
Wordley, she put the roll on but looked the wrong way.
Are blowing, Yugimoto.
Thunderbirds felt they had to do something against Phoenix second time around.
One of the few glimpses of the Swifts in fast break mode. That was beautiful work down court. They just need a few more.
Fellows this week only given up 9 penalties. Tackle. Oh, well,
She
that's a
was
lucky one.
She was so close to giving up the footwork infringement, but Cox to the rescue, salvaged it. It's back to 10. And at least they're making a go of it. The Swifts with a chance to get another one here. Oltwager a little early on the offer, now pulls off on a clear.
And Cox, well, they've got to throw a few in hope and quickly to address this kind of deficit. Got it back to 9. 4 in a row for the Swifts.
Oltwager then setting up the screen. Again, timing wasn't good. It was a little clumsy, but they got away with it.
Oltwager, just 1 goal for the Thunderbirds so far in this final quarter. They're doing what the Swifts have been guilty of in the first 3. Thunderbirds have possession. They need to do something with it. The Swifts have scored the last 5. And it just probably got them a tad nervous on the Thunderbirds bench as Broadbent steps up to squeeze another turnover.
Great work. That's what Ellis was trying to do in the second quarter. Come out and break the pattern of attack.
Oh, down goes Harvey Williams and a penalty against Cox. Shouldered her out of the way.
See Harvey Williams coming through front position. Yeah, a little bit of a charge there from Catherine Cox.
It was right under the nose
flight.
of Michelle Cooper. She had no trouble making that call. And that's against Fellows. Using the knee, it sounded like. Schwager, they need this one. Oh, gee, she's got good hands. And an almost elastic body.
There's almost a volleyball touch there from Kat Cox. Watch the deflection. She knows exactly where Oltwager is, so good support play. The Swifts making a run.
Yeah. Oh. Throw-in goes to the Swifts. Harvey Williams denied by the post as much as anything. Crash. Oof. Yeah. Anderson looking for Cox. Harvey Williams this time claims it.
Tit for tat, Harvey Williams and Cox. Good pressure from Oltwager.
Oh no, Fellows was always there. That was a poor option. They're not treasuring these turnovers, the Swifts, when they're in chase mode, and they must. So they've really stepped up a gear, the Swifts. And that's the Swifts ball. It came off Wordley.
Broadbent and Ellis doing a wealth of work, creating opportunities for the Swifts. They're really lifted for this final challenge. It's a long, high ball. It gives Broadbent time, and she really puts the scare on, if nothing else, and it's through the hands of Delaney.
Cox.
Oh, it's 2-on-1, but again, it's a poor feeding option from the Swifts. They could have made that a lot easier for themselves. Under the pressure, they're forcing it.
Well, Harvey Williams is doing more than her share of trying to stop the flood of goals here. Boy, she's putting her body on the line. Fellows out of play.
So again, it's a 2-on-1. That was there moments ago.
And still it won't go. Cox. Oh, what a clash of body. You can't question the commitment out there. And still just 1 goal in 6 minutes for the Thunderbirds. They really need to get a few on to stop the worries, the jitters. Delaney.
Bomberto and Sanders just working the angles beautifully on the edge of that circle, making the difference in the mid-court for the Thunderbirds.
Calm as you please, Delaney. Got Harvey Williams chasing everything down. What a competitor. 8 intercepts for Kath Harvey-Williams. Ellis. Oh. Contact against Megan Anderson. In a haste to get rid of the ball, Ellis probably under the threat of a footwork violation to give up possession.
Alison Broadbent went hurtling then on that challenge, sprinted back to get out of play, knowing that they can't waste time in that department when they're chasing.
Akel still disjointed at times from the Swifts despite this better run. Harvey-Williams just having, what a last quarter she's having.
Yeah, quite an inspirational final quarter from the skipper, trying to rev things up again and lead by example. She doesn't want them to sit back on the lead. She wants them to keep attacking. It's so important. Sometimes you think when you've got that good buffer that you can relax and the turnovers don't count, but you must keep attacking.
Bomberto.
Again, great angles from Bomberto, though. She came slicing in from the corner to the top of the circle.
And Ellis comes in and wrestles it away from Delaney. Just got to take it.
A lot of energy expended then when she had to go back and take the possession call.
Contact against Worthley. Doing all they can to slow the Swifts down. Time may indeed work against the Swifts. They need another run like they had at the start of the quarter. I don't think the Thunderbirds' defence will be that sleepy.
Smart work by Altwager. It was a strong take in the first place. She was aware she had support behind and a great hole to finish.
The lead is just 7. It was 13 at three-quarter time. Gilson.
We've been waiting for the Swifts to mount a fight back. There seemed like there was no pride there. We knew it was. Do they have enough time for it? Won't be for lack of trying.
Anderson. Cox working to the front of Harvey-Williams. Watching against Harvey-Williams. Cox. She liked that. For the moment it left her hand, she didn't move. Got it back to 6. And over 6 to go. Sanders. Worthley. Oh. Contact against Broadbent.
Well, she's going to pick up some contacts because they're running out to try and stop any of those balls on the edge of the circle. It'll cost them at times. They'll pick up another couple along the way.
Akel, Cox, Anderson, escapes Sanders. Haven't done that too often.
Better movement from the Swift shooters. There's more drive now from them instead of static work.
Argango, she knows that the Thunderbirds only have to go goal for goal. They can lose this last quarter but win the match quite comfortably. Oh, good take, Sanders.
Did land it on the left foot, not testing the right ankle, but she looks so comfortable.
And Delaney, 28 from 39. Well, she had it up around 80% early in the match, but if she kicks it in the 70s, they'll get the job done here.
That was definitely on the arm. It was not enough angle from Harvey-Williams, who's the most costly on court. That was her 18th penalty. Normally she cuts the angle off a little and attacks the ball on the intercept. She took the body and the player then.
Harvey-Williams, Fellows, Squire.
Delaney has brought herself right out to the edge to the sideline. Ellis is still playing quite in the mid-court, or mid-line of the court, trying to cut things off, and Delaney's just trying to spread that Swift's defence.
Well, a miss there, but it just looks like the Thunderbirds have woken up in time to stop this Swift's run and save the match. There's still a difference of 7 goals, 4.5 to go. Looks like we will have a new champion in 2002. The Swifts won it easily last year in the grand final against the Thunderbirds, and the Thunderbirds with this amazing record of never having missed the grand final looks like they're going to keep it intact.
It's an unbelievable statistic. Well, 4 minutes and 6 to go. It can be done.
Not often.
Not often, but it can be done.
Sometimes by Australia against New Zealand.
Well, there's enough of those on court to emulate that feat.
Sanders, only a replay. Ellis.
That's one back.
And Squire only swats it towards Akel. Players down in back play. Akel and Cox.
Yeah, smart work by Akel. Saw there was enough distance. The Thunderbirds defenders were a little high. Cox was hugging the baseline, and this would bring it back to 4 if they can convert from this centre.
Smile from Jill McIntosh. I think she's enjoying it, the Australian coach.
Well, who set their alarm clocks for the final quarter? They should have put it a bit earlier. I don't know what's gone on in this camp. They were late to the courts for the match, you remember? So perhaps they're just all a little out of mode all the way down the track, and it's 4.
Julie Fitzgerald, can they keep it going? They need another turnover, and they need it now. Cox trying to deny Harvey Williams. Wordley, they can play it around patiently, as long as they look after it. Oh, it's so risky going back like this in the dying minutes. One slack pass, and it all counts against you. Delaney, can they get this one? Seconds tick by. For the difference. The winner to the grand final. Delaney still didn't want to take the shot. Finally, contact against Broadbent. Shot taken by Wordley. Back to self.
That's a great shot.
You want to see that, don't you? The coach should be pleased that she took that shot.
Yeah, that was a pressure shot because of the length of time that had gone between shots for the Thunderbirds, the amount of ball playing that had gone leading up to it. So great work from the young Wordley.
Harvey Williams. That's a penalty against her. The shot. Schwager hurries to bring it back in. Checks the position. Takes the shot. Back to 4, but only 2 minutes to go. And the Swifts defence have got to try and force something here. Oh, Delaney, quite superb. What a telling moment of the match. If Wordley converts, she can't.
That's a contact against Delaney. Ellis had possession. Now it'll be a penalty.
Time is against the Swifts. Every whistle helps the Thunderbirds. Might be happy to concede a few penalties to slow the Swifts down. Cox. And the Swifts have just got to keep the action coming. They ought to get there, the Thunderbirds. Cox, long way out. Anderson.
Oh, Cox put on the drive. It was the wrong option from Megan Anderson.
And that turnover might just be the one. Harvey Williams, the Squire. Fellows. Touch over a minute. And Thunderbirds should get there now. Delaney. Delaney once more. Out it comes. Broadbent. Ellis. Players will know there's almost no time left.
And the call goes against Jane Oltwager for holding, and you see her reply, no way, I was on the wrong end of that.
Well,
once again, it was just a poor option from the Swifts in panic mode. The pass selection, inappropriate.
Umpires can advance penalties for that level of dispute, but no, it weren't going to so late in the match with the result so clear. Just a few seconds left. Umberto. Sanders. Well, what a performance this has been from the Thunderbirds, particularly when you contrast it with last week when they were so out of sorts against Melbourne Phoenix. And they've done it. They're into the grand final, and what a week it's been for Margango. Her side looked really incapable of producing this sort of performance today if you'd seen them against Phoenix last week, but they've turned it all around. And Julie Fitzgerald, well, applauds the season of the Swifts. They won't defend their title, but they've given it a good crack, especially coming from 13 down to really pressure the Thunderbirds. They are so delighted with this result. Very much relieved is Margango, and thrilled with themselves are the Thunderbirds. She's very proud. In a long coaching career, I don't know that I've seen that much emotion from Margango. What a result. There's a lot of pride in this team. And you can see that in their performance. So the Thunderbirds, much more disciplined. They gave away almost twice as many penalties as that last week. The rebounds, nothing in it. Turnovers also pretty even, but their intercepts, well, Kath Harvey-Williams took 9. of those 18 intercepts. And they had more possession, and they're shooting, although not as good as the Swifts, they had so many more attempts, and they're shooting early in the match when it was really under pressure. Well, it was in the 80s, and that helped carry them to what in the end was quite a narrow win, but a win that from three-quarter time was rarely in doubt. 46-42. Here's Ann Sargent with Rebecca Sanders.
Thanks, Steve. Well, Rebecca, unbelievable performance. What a transformation from last week.
Yeah, we really stuck to the game plan tonight. We knew we just had to give the easy option and make the scores count for us, and the goalies really stood up and were counted tonight.
I actually found it a little unnerving to see so little Thunderbirds passion early on and so much control.
Yeah, I guess, you know, last week we were shown that perhaps we had a bit too much passion, so we tried to just direct that to our game plan tonight, and I think we did that. We kept it calm.
Very courageous performance from you. Many thought you wouldn't make the match.
Yeah, well, I must admit, when I first did it, I didn't think I'd make it either, but we've got really great support staff in our doctor and physio, and they've worked overtime to get me here tonight.
You must have some words of praise for Jackie Delaney. She really turned around a form when you needed it most.
Yeah, she's the, I guess she's the epitome of a true champion. She's been a bit down on form, but when we really need her, she shines through, and let's hope she'll shine through again next week for us.
Just in that last quarter, any sense of panic? You had a 13-goal buffer going into that last quarter.
Yeah, I think we were waiting for that time to go down, and it wasn't going down, and we forgot we had to attack to win the game, but I guess in the last 5 minutes we picked up our attack and got there in the end just.
Well, congratulations on a marvellous personal performance, and best luck for the grand final, your 6th grand final. Just amazing.
Yeah, we're really looking forward to it. Thank you.
Well, the Thunderbirds might only have scored 5 goals in that last quarter, but they've done enough early in the game to set up a quite courageous win. So just 2 teams left and 1 match to be played in 2002. It's the grand final next week in Melbourne. Phoenix get to host it, of course, because they won the major semi. It'll be played at Vodafone Arena on Friday night, and the Thunderbirds will be hoping to be the first team to have come through the preliminary final to win the big one. We'll have it on ABC Sport at 5 o'clock next Saturday afternoon. We'll keep you up to date with all the news about the grand final on our website at abc.net.au/netball. If you're in Melbourne, do please get along to the match. Otherwise, join us on Saturday afternoon at 5 for the grand final on ABC Sport. I'm Steve Rebellion from Etzer Park. Goodbye for now.